The October 22nd, 2014 meeting of the Ways and Means Committee will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Ms. Andrews, Mr. Baroth, Dr. Carbone, Mr. Daniele, Mrs. Draw, Mr. Haney, Ms. Cayley, Dr. Quattro, Mr. Rocco, Mr. Tucciarello, Mr. Yolovich.
Here. Will Legislator Carbone, would you lead us in the pledge, please? To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any speakers signed up for the public forum?
There are not.
Is there anyone here who has not signed up that would like to speak to this committee? Seeing none, the next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. You have the minutes from the September 17th, 2014 meeting in your folder. They will stand approved unless the clerk is notified of any changes by the end of the day. Madam Clerk, new business, please.
Referral 14-0283.
Moved by Legislator Rocco, seconded by Legislator Tucciarello. Is there any discussion? Legislator Haney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. How many cameras will we be buying with this money?
Commander Dave Phelps, the Sheriff's Office, on behalf of the administration and the Sheriff. Through the Chair, we are doing a pilot project now. Different cameras come with different price estimates for the purchase of the camera, warranties, and storage of data. And so we won't know for sure until it goes out to bid. The goal is about approximately 10.
Through the Chair, has the police union been contacted about this?
Through the Chair, we've had conversations with the union members throughout the discussion. When we get better data and we finalize a policy, then we'll have a more formal discussion with them to bring them up to speed.
And through the Chair, since there's only 10, obviously some officers will have them and some won't. Will officers be required to wear the cameras, or will it be voluntary?
The plan at this time through the Chair is to have it as a pilot project, probably beginning with the traffic enforcement unit, and we may expand that out to a few other people, but it will not be required at this time to any particular officer.
So, through the Chair, the officers will be able to opt out of the program if they so desire?
Once the formal policy is established and the union is advised and we have concurrent agreement on what we're going to proceed with, the Chief Deputy will then assign the camera to a specific unit, and the supervisor of that unit will be responsible for assigning the camera to the individual deputy and be responsible for collecting the data, as it will be a pilot project that we'll need information on.
And through the Chair, will the videos that are developed, are they accessible through the Freedom of Information law or otherwise available to the public?
Through the Chair, one of the most important parts of the camera project is the various legalities and liabilities, both for the county and for the citizens, regarding the collection and retention of data. I am currently responsible for leading that part of the investigation along with corporate counsel Michelle Crane. And once we have all of our homework done and before the cameras go out in service, we will have definitive answers to that.
So we don't know at this point whether they're subject to the Freedom of Information Act or not?
My understanding at this time is it will depend on the circumstance. When we have the formal policy, it'll be more clear based on when it would be applicable.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Legislator Andrews.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, have you talked at all so far in developing the pilot program? How will be decided when the cameras are left on and when they're turned off by the individual officers?
Through the Chair, I've been reviewing sample policies from the International Association of Police, as well as a survey we conducted through the New York State Sheriff's Association. There is no consistent policy nationwide on that. It goes different agencies handle it different ways. So we're going to do some more research on it and look at the legal side and what's best. And we'll be able to report back to you when we complete the formal policy.
Thank you. And through the chair, when do you expect to have it completed?
Through the chair, my goal is to have that together in the next 30 days. Certainly before any cameras go out, we'll have the policy will be signed.
Great, thank you. And then you'll be able to provide that to us.
That request will go through the sheriff, through the chair, and then we should be able to come up with a good discussion on that.
Sorry, just to clarify then, once it's finalized through the sheriff, as legislators, we'll be able to request a copy of that final policy, please?
Through the chair, yes, the finalized copies of our policies are available.
Perfect. Thank you. And then just lastly, because this has been talked about in our community, also with the city of Rochester, and I believe the Gates Police Departments already use cameras, I'm wondering if there's any sort of collaboration going on with those departments locally to learn from their experience, or to see if there's anything that can be done jointly through the chair.
Through the chair, probably not jointly. There are too many issues that go with different policies of each agency and the control of the data. However, we have spoken to other agencies that have them in place to gauge their response and feedback. There's been some positive response from the officers and the community from the agencies that have had it. And so there will be ongoing discussions with that, as well as the quality of the cameras. We research cameras. This has been going on with us actually for the past 3 years. And the quality of the cameras we've looked at in the past has been poor. The quality available this year seems to be much better.
Thank you very much. And I actually just have one final question. If the program goes well, would you anticipate trying to expand it so that we would have more than 10 cameras in use?
Through the chair, that may be hindered by cost. The challenge to cameras is not only the purchase price, but each camera can have a fee for data storage as high as $1,000 per unit that would be a recurring annual expense. So depending on the camera we pick, every company's different. That'll affect how many we can purchase and be part of our budget as we try to keep our budget basically stable each year. That'll be a factor in it.
Thank you very much. I look forward to looking at the finalized report and hearing what the experience is for the county in this. Thanks.
Legislator Baroth had his hand up next.
Thank you. Through the Chair of the Administration, as a follow-up question to a series of questions I asked in public safety, I just wanted to, actually, it's not a question, it's more like a suggestion. It was stated that the assessment period for this pilot will occur essentially towards the end of this year. So sometime by the end of December, the assessment period will end. Through the Chair of the Administration, is that correct?
Through the chair, no. Through the end of the year, we'll be finalizing policy and going out to bid and selecting a camera. The pilot project will then go on throughout the next 6 months to a year, as this is grant funded and there's no additional funds for additional cameras at this time. So I would anticipate the pilot project running at least 6 months to get a good response from the community as well as the deputies.
Thank you. Then through the Chair of the Administration, I had a few suggestions. I'll share them offline later on at some other point in time. Thank you.
Legislator Cayley.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to the administration. With regards to whether or not, let me back up. With regards to the unit themselves, you've been looking at them. Do you have an idea as to their size? Seeing pictures, the reason I'm getting at this is seeing photographs of officers wearing cameras. To some people, they might be readily visible. Others, they might not be. So my concern was the size. Are they readily visible, and are the officers required to announce at any given time that the incidents may be recorded?
Through the chair, those are two very excellent questions, and two of the first questions that we discussed as we began looking at the project. Regarding the size is important, particularly as the battery pack that carries the camera. Originally, the ones we looked at were belt carriers. We can't carry anything else on our belts. They're pretty much full. So we're looking at a pocket-size storage pack that will go into the shirt pocket. The camera size, you are correct. There are options where you can connect them to camera to your sunglasses, which we tell the guys not to wear. You can have a small camera on your collar, but you have angle issues with the way it sets up, and you can have it clipped to your tie. Most of the ones that we've seen are readily visible, that would be in the tie area, and they have a red blinking light in them, which would indicate that they're recording.
Thank you. Then this is probably a legal question, but to the best of your knowledge, if the red light is blinking, would that be considered the same as informing whoever an officer might be working with at that point that they are indeed being recorded?
Through the chair, this area is our greatest concern for liability reasons for the county, as well as the civil rights of the citizen. If you are in a home, is different than if you're on the street, is different than if you're in an in-progress crime. And those are the three biggest categories that we're working out the legalities of, that I cannot give you a definitive answer this time because we haven't resolved for sure the policy we will establish. There are policies nationwide where you inform that you're turning it on, you inform that you're turning off. There are other agencies that don't tell them ever. And so ultimately we're looking at legal responses that are currently out there to establish the best policy for the county.
Thank you. And then just one more question, only because this came to mind, that when through the administration or through the chairperson to the administration, when say if it were a chest or a tie area unit were in place, if it's safe to assume that it's placed more or less on the outside of the vest, or would it be on the inside partially to protect the officer, and then if the officer were to receive a blow to where the unit was, is there any impact issue for the safety of the officer?
Through the chair, another good question. The vest is worn inside the shirt. The camera would be on the chest area of the officer, so as to have the best view of where the officer is looking. One of the other inhibitions of a body camera is the camera doesn't view where the officer's looking, as the officer can turn his head without turning his torso. And so the camera may not always view exactly what you think you're viewing, or only part of it. And so the camera needs to be centered as close to the officer's body as possible and as high on the officer's body as possible, so when the officer turns to face what they're looking at, the camera captures it in footage, but the exact location has not been determined at this time.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries. Next item, please.
Referral 14-0284.
Moved by legislator Tucciarello, seconded by legislator Quattro. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries. Next item, please.
Referral 14-0285.
Moved by legislator Quattro, seconded by legislator Daniele. Legislator Haney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through the chair, what will the $50,000 that's going to the University of Rochester be used for?
My grandson's tuition.
Sorry?
Through the chair, Fred Ryan, Monroe County Office of Emergency Management. The $50,000 for U of R will be for a health care planner, and this stems from an original contract under Resolution 44 of 2011.
And again, through the chair, what will the $115,000 MCC be used for?
Through the chair, the monies for MCC are for community emergency response team classes, program coordination, as well as classes for first responders.
So is it MCC that actually conducts all the classes?
Through the chair, no, not all of the classes for first responders are conducted through MCC staff. They may be outside vendors coming in through MCC.
But either way, it's covered by the $115,000?
Through the chair, yes.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Legislator Haney, tap your mic. Just tap it. Yeah, it is working. It just seems like it's awful low. Dave, is that okay over there? Yeah, okay. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries. Next item, please.
Referral 14-0286.
Moved by legislator Daniele, seconded by legislator Draw. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, please.
Referral 14-0287.
Moved by legislator Draw, second by legislator Carbone. Legislator Andrews.
Mr. Chair, through you, could I just request that it be provided in writing, just a list of the different pieces of equipment that's been purchased with this funding over the past few years, please, and then how we intend to use it this year?
Through the chair, for this particular grant, just to be clear, you want a list of equipment that's been purchased over how many years?
Let's just say 3 years, please.
The last 3 years, and you would also like a list of the equipment proposed for this grant year?
Yes, please.
Because your first request is actually outside the scope of the grant.
Well, it's the 7th year we've received it, so I just want to get a sense of the
Okay.
sort of equipment
All
that's been purchased
All
with
right,
it. If I may have a follow-up to that as well, is it possible also, and you don't have to do this thoroughly in writing, or we could just have a conversation now if you prefer, just to get an idea of how often this sort of equipment is used, or are they incredibly special and unique pieces of equipment that don't actually get utilized too often, through the chair?
Through the chair, the sheriff's use of this equipment is assigned to various special operations units. Depending on the unit, like the bomb squad I can give you a head count by year. They actually have a number of calls per week, which we are fortunate to have this type of money for the bomb vehicles, transport, securing. So that gets regular usage. The SWAT team usage, again, is dual purpose equipment to assist events on not only as they come up, but also special operations events of large note like the PGA and other major events, or when the president is in town. The scuba team and K-9 also use the equipment regularly for various obvious requirements that go with those assignments.
Thank you very much.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, please.
Referral 14-0288.
Moved by legislator Carbone, seconded by legislator Rocco. Is there any discussion? Legislator Baroff.
Thank you. Through the chair of the administration, just one quick question. Am I correct to understand that the $45,000 reimbursement is only for the sidewalk and not for any part of the highway rehabilitation program?
Through the chair, you are correct.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, please.
Referral 14-0289.
Moved by legislator Rocco, seconded by legislator Tucciarello. Any discussion? Legislator Haney.
Through the chair, what's necessitating the increase?
Through the chair, this past year we had a couple different projects that the consultant under their term services was doing some design for us and some hydraulic analysis. The complexity increased, which ended up increasing the cost of the design, and we are up to the limit of what we could do each year in terms of $75,000 a year. So we are, besides this here, we're asking to an increase of $25,000 per year for as long as we do extend the contract, so that we can do the design that we need to do, the survey we need to do under term services, hydraulic analysis, as well as some inspection.
Through the chair, do you think that in future years it will return to the $75,000 level?
Through the chair, I asked for 75 this particular one because past years we had not had that demand, but this year we've just had a higher demand, and I see that going for the next several years. And in fact, a referral coming up the next cycle will actually asking for another term service consultant to be added starting next year.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, please.
Referral 14-0290.
Moved by legislator Tucciarello, seconded by legislator Quattro. Is there any discussion? Legislator Baroff.
Thank you. Through the chair to the administration, a question regarding the increase in the engineering funds from 2012 27,000 to 76,000. That's a 200% increase. What additional services is the engineering firm that we contracted with doing to earn the 200% increase?
Through the chair, this was a somewhat complicated project for us to determine what we thought was a fair design. And so we sought, after we had already put in for the amount of money, we sought some advice from our physical service partners, DES, who kind of relayed to me that I didn't have enough money in there for the design for what we were going to be asking the consultant to do. So therefore, I went back to the region and got some additional money, federal money for most of it, to pay for what we feel that the cost of the design will be. We have not gone into, we're scoping it now with a consultant, but we have not got a contract with a consultant yet.
Thank you. That was my follow-up question. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries. Next item, please.
Referral 14-0291.
Moved by Legislator Quattro, seconded by Legislator Daniele. Legislator Haney.
Through the chair, why are these services needed? Didn't we do a zoo master plan just a few years ago?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the last zoo master plan was completed in 2000. This master plan is needed, and it will focus mainly on the main zoo building. We are accredited at the Seneca Park Zoo by the Association of Zoos and Aquariums every 5 years. For the previous two accreditations, we've been called out by the Association of Zoos and Aquariums for having an antiquated facility at the main zoo building that does not reflect modern zoological practices. We've been given a pass on the last two because we've been doing other very noteworthy projects at the zoo. At this last accreditation that Mr. Sorrell and I attended in Kansas City last year, we were given a final warning that if something was not done with the main zoo building in that 5-year period, the Seneca Park Zoo would not be accredited in 4 years from now, actually, because we're 1 year into it. So that building has outlived its purpose. We're aware of that, and this master plan will focus mostly on that, and from the associated outflows that would occur from replacing that building. What do you do with the current collection? Do you move it into other areas of the park? The Seneca Park Zoo, under our current design and the county executive's commitment to the community back when the elephant exhibit and the Step into Africa was built, has adopted the 1991 master plan footprint, and this would respect that footprint that was adopted.
So through the chair, that was my next question. That this is going to be restricted to the current footprint of the zoo, is that correct?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, not necessarily the current footprint, but the adopted 1991 master plan footprint. There is still some room to grow in that master plan footprint.
Okay. But
not the 2000 footprint.
Right. Through the chair, we're not going to get back into the issue of a parking lot down by the pond or something.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, no, sir.
Thank you.
Legislator Baroth.
Through the chair of the administration, just one quick question. What's the anticipated timeline for the development and completion of the master plan?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, we anticipate kicking off the master plan right after the anticipated adoption by the legislature. So we've scheduled our consultants to come in at the beginning of December to start. And we hope to have this master plan done during 2015 so that we can begin on design and construction and have the main zoo building, current main zoo building taken down and new exhibitry in its place within this now 4-year time period.
Thank you. One follow-up question, my apologies. Through the chair of the administration, and I assume within the master plan there'll be ample opportunity for public input?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, yes, definitely. That's the purpose and goal of the master plan, is to get the input of stakeholders of the zoo and also neighbors and the community at large.
Thank you very much.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries. Next item, please.
Referral 14-0292.
Moved by Legislator Daniele, seconded by Legislator Draw. Legislator Carbone.
Chairman, with your indulgence, I've got quite a few questions about this referral. First, I'd like to note that this referral is regarding the potential contract with Kluss Myers Golf Management, LLC, to run the pro shop and other golf operations. The contract with this vendor does not cover maintenance of the courses themselves, as the County Parks Department intends to assume duties related to landscaping and upkeep of the grounds. Is that correct, Mr. Chairman, to the administration?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, that is correct.
Okay, then, through the chairman to the administration, could you give us a brief description of what operations will be covered by this contract?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, gladly. Those responsibilities of the golf managers would be the pro shops, marketing, restaurants and snack bars, golf cart rentals, tournaments, leagues, lessons, tee times, starting and marshaling, and the driving ranges.
Thank you. And through the chair to the administration, what about Jack's Place, the restaurant caterer at Durand Eastman? Will the county take over management of that also?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, Jack's Place is currently operated by the present vendor. The catering operation there is a subsidiary of Jack Tyndale Incorporated. That will cease with the termination of this contract on January 1st, 2015, as will the rest of that contract. The county did look at other restaurant-type vendors for that location, and we issued an expression of interest back earlier in the fall, and we received no interest in that. The county Parks Department will take that facility over, and we will rent it as a rentable facility, like many of our signature lodges, and we will put that out on our reservation systems with the rest of our facilities. We anticipate, based on interest already of people contacting us, that we will be able to rent that quite easily, and it's actually proper usage of that facility, as has been demonstrated by the way the current operator has been running it. It started out as a restaurant, very difficult location for traditional restaurant, and it's basically become a catering facility. And the way we rent lodges throughout our park system, especially our signature lodges, people rent them for weddings, graduations, other events of that type, hire their own caterer, and are very happy with that. And we have a very high success in renting facilities like that. So we anticipate that we will be able to attract customers for that location and have that facility rented as such.
Okay, then through the chair, I'd like to focus my next line of questions on golf operations or front office aspects of course management. As we talk about financial controls for the golf course operations, I know in the past there's been talk of lock boxes and daily deposits. How do we intend to put in place controls which will protect the county from loss and or theft and ensure that we are receiving an accurate 90% of the greens fees and 10% of everything else?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, one of the selling points of this particular group of professionals that came to us, and one of the main reasons for our selecting them, in addition to both of them being golf professionals, they bring with them current technology and expertise in that part of the business where they currently use technology in their operations at Linden Golf Course in Onondaga County. The proposal that they submitted and will be part of the contract is they will be using a web-enabled, real-time point-of-sale system where we will have access to that point-of-sale system in real time as they will. That point-of-sale system will also have motion-activated cameras that will capture video of the person transacting that sale for every type of sale that they do. We'll have access to those transactions, as I said, in real time, daily, weekly. However we choose to access that, we will require, in addition, monthly reports to balance that out, and monthly deposits.
Thank you. Through the chair to the administration, will they be using credit cards?
Again, that's one of the items that we included in our RFP for this service. It did elicit some chuckles from some of the proposers that why would we even include that since it's so accepted in the in doing business these days. But yes, that is something we definitely want to have happen, and will be finally part of the golf operation at these courses. Credit cards will be accepted for all transactions.
Okay, through the chair to the administration, how often will you require deposits to the county and reconciliations with their books?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, we'll be, as I said, we'll have access in real time, but we'll be requiring monthly deposits and reconciliations from the vendors.
Okay, through the chair to the administration, is there a provision for audits in the contract? And if so, how often and by whom?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, there will be provisions for audit as there are for the standard county contracts. I'll let Mr. Franklin address that.
Mr. Chairman, audits of the new operations can be conducted through the finance department, through our own internal audit staff. We also have the ability to bring in an outside auditor if we feel that our own staff cannot conduct this within their schedule. The timeliness of these audits, we will work with the Parks Department on a schedule that they are comfortable with. Regardless, we will work these audits into our annual internal audit plan for review by the audit committee. Thank you.
Through the chair to the administration, will the legislature be receiving annual statements of the performance of the golf courses?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the Parks Department will be providing the legislature with an annual report on the golf course operations beginning in 2015 with our takeover.
Through the chair to the administration, what sort of controls will the county have over golf operations?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, as I mentioned, from a financial standpoint, we feel very comfortable with that web-enabled real-time point-of-sale system, which is basically becoming industry standard. But we will also, as part of our operations of maintenance and of the courses, we will have a full-time supervisor of parks and golf, which is included in our 2015 budget submission, which will be coming to you next month, I believe. That person, we've already started interviewing for that position. That person will be monitoring the contract on a daily basis with the contractor, in addition to managing the operations of the maintenance of the 3 golf courses. So we feel very comfortable that with boots on the ground and eyes all around, we will have an active monitoring of this contract at all times.
Thank you. Okay, through the chair, I'd also like to ask about staffing for the new vendor. In this referral, I see that both Philip Kless and Andrew Myers are licensed PGA professionals, which satisfies that general benchmark of qualification. What types of golf management experience do they have, and in your opinion, are they qualified to manage the golf operations at the 3 county-owned courses?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, yes, they are very well qualified. Currently, their company manages the Linden golf course in Onondaga County, which is one of the oldest golf courses in the state of New York. They operate that for a family trust from all aspects of the business, not only the golf professional side, but they also manage at that facility the grounds as well, which gives them a good understanding of what we will be expecting from them when it comes to our dealings with them as golf course professionals and operators of the golf courses. Mr. Andrew Myers is a PGA professional, as you mentioned. He has previous experience at Turning Stone Resort as a PGA professional. Prior to that, he was a math teacher, high school math teacher, and went into the golf business as a career change. He has both a bachelor's science and a master's degree, as well as his PGA professional certificates. Mr. Kless, Philip Kless, is a PGA professional as well. Prior to his experience with Linden, he was also a pro at Turning Stone, where he met Mr. Myers. And prior to that, he has experience at Blue Heron Hills, Webster Golf Club, Eagle Vale, and Genesee Valley.
Thank you. Through the chair to the administration, were there other vendors who bid on this contract? And if there were, why do you feel that these individuals were the most qualified?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, we approached this very seriously, and we issued initially back many months ago in the winter an expression of interest to get a field of candidates for this contract. We received about a dozen. Our committee, which was made up of Mr. Napier, Mr. Taylor, Mr. Franklin, Mr. Roy from the Department of Environmental Services, myself and Mr. Rinaldo, the purchasing office, and also the chairman of our Parks Advisory Committee, citizen, Mr. Zeller. We reviewed all of those submissions, and we narrowed it down to 6 that we felt were qualified for this contract. We then issued a full request for proposals. Of those 6, 4 responded, and we interviewed 2, and we selected Kless Myers as the ultimate awardee.
Through the chair to the administration, from what we covered earlier, the operators are not responsible for course maintenance. Does the county intend to hire someone on the county payroll to oversee these services?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, yes. As I mentioned in my previous answer, the superintendent of Parks and Golf will be responsible to oversee all golf operations for the county, and he will report directly to the Deputy Director of Parks, as is our organizational chart, and ultimately to me.
Okay, through the chair to the administration, where does the money come from to pay for that individual?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, as we've mentioned, 90% of greens fees will be retained by the county, and also 10% of the fees charged by the professionals will be retained by the county. This will give the county about $1 million in operational revenue that we will then use to fund our golf course operations, including this position, but also the maintenance and other personnel, equipment, and supplies for this for these 3 courses.
Very good. Through the chair to the administration, what will the collaboration between Kless Myers and the county look like between the golf operations and the golf course maintenance side? And will Kless Myers be giving feedback regarding maintenance, or will they have decision-making power regarding the maintenance of the course?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, that's a great question that we've actually been addressing quite a bit as we interview potential candidates for the Superintendent of Parks and Golf. Among these individuals, we had 33 applicants, which we narrowed down to 10, and have been conducting interviews with those 10 people. We're very favorably impressed that many superintendents from throughout Monroe County in current courses applied for this position because they see the exciting potential for a position like this and being able to go in and have a hand in bringing these courses back. The collaboration will look like this superintendent will be calling the shots, and he'll be managing not only the county staff, which will have a assistant superintendent located at each one of the courses, along with a full-time mechanic, and then a seasonal staff of golf course maintenance individuals, because we want to run this smart, but we also want to run it lean. We don't want a lot of people hanging around not doing anything in the winter. The main thrust of this operation is going to be seasonal, and that's going to be how the main part of our golf course maintenance operation will be staffed. His interaction with the professionals will be a collaboration because they're going to be bringing in the golfers. They want to make sure that there is a quality experience once these golfers are there, but we also want to maintain the integrity of these golf courses. It will be up to the superintendent, for example, whether carts are let out on a certain day. And the professionals are aware of this, and based on their current experience at Linden, they have to make those kind of decisions as well. So it'll be a very collaborative relationship, but ultimately the county's in charge.
Thank you. Through the chair, one of the unfortunate realities of the government is the possibility of a vendor failing to meet our expectations. I see from the referral that the contract is to last for 3 years with the option to renew for 2 additional 3-year terms. To the administration, is there any sort of opt-out if the county is unsatisfied with the new vendor after only 1 year? And is there a cancellation clause built into the contract?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, yes, there will be.
Okay, through the chair, across the country, fewer people play golf every year. As a sport, its popularity and profitability decrease each year, which is a major cause of the financial problems the previous vendor encountered. At the public courses in Monroe County, revenues decreased by $20,000 from 2012 to 2013 alone. To the administration, does the new vendor have any strategies to try and mitigate some of these losses and attract more golfers to the county courses?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, yes, and that's one of the reasons that we selected this group. As I said, they're very keyed into golf as it's played today. They're very keyed into the customer that we have at our county golf courses. Our customer is a value customer who is out there looking for a good deal. With the county, they will be instituting some dynamic pricing from on an internet-based tee time system, which is becoming more and more common throughout the industry, where if a tee time isn't selling on a particular day, they will be given the ability to discount that. So, you bring in a customer that you might not have had that day, because once that tee time's gone, you're never going to get that back. They bring those kinds of management type ideas to this contract, and they will also be looking at different marketing techniques and to bring that customer back. And I think that from our standpoint, the sooner we improve the conditions at the courses with our own staff, that when people come back, they'll be pleased, they'll tell their friends about it, and they'll keep coming back, because these courses are valuable, and I know that a lot of people really want to get back out there and play.
Through the chair to the administration, will the new vendor be in charge of marketing for the courses, and are there any plans to help with the marketing from the county?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the marketing is a responsibility of the professional vendors.
Through the chair, we talked a little bit about the operation of Jack's Place when we started this discussion, but I wanted to ask about the operations of the snack stands, restaurants, pro shops, golf cart rentals at Durand, Eastman, Genesee Valley, and Churchville. Through the administration, is there a plan to upgrade the restaurants and snack stand facilities at each of these courses?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the snack stands, basically what they are in the three courses, would be the responsibility of the contractor to make upgrades with our approval, and the vendor is very interested in doing that, and just making some very simple upgrades that will improve quality and the overall experience at those snack facilities.
Through the chair to the administration, what sort of revenues have we seen in the past from those types of operations?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, currently they've been hit or miss, and I think a lot of it has to do with the type of golfer we have, who is, as I said, is looking for that value, but also on the offerings. I know that the vendors that we're hiring, look at that as a potential source not only of revenue, but also of goodwill with the golfer, to offer a quick bite to eat as they're getting on or off the course, availability of beverages at a reasonable price, to get them to purchase their food there and not, quite frankly, eat before and or after.
Thank you. Through the chair to the administration, would the vendor be responsible for inventory levels regarding food and pro shop materials for sale? And does the county have a role in overseeing these ventures?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the county will have a role in approving the type of products that they sell, but inventory levels will be at their discretion.
My final question, through the chair to the administration, I know the cart rental fees are quite high at these courses. Do the vendors have any ideas on price points for cart rentals and other sorts of pricing changes?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, we're actually talking with the vendors about that, and there is some discussion on lowering the golf cart fees at some of the courses.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Legislator Carbone. You must have stayed up quite late last night putting that together. Legislator Aney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through the chair, it was indicated that you expect $1 million in revenue under this contract. What have we been receiving under the prior contract, roughly?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, we look at the current revenue as basically the floor, and that's about what we've been receiving the last couple of years.
And how much is that?
About $1 million is what they've been bringing in for those fees, using their numbers.
So the county's going to be deriving the same amount of money under the new arrangement as the old arrangement?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the county anticipates, we looked at it very conservatively, that revenue for greens fees would be about the same as what it has been in the last year or so, which was our anticipation is $1 million on greens fees. And that's based on the experience of the current vendor, not what the county has received, but what the current vendor, or what these, more appropriately, what these courses are bringing in greens fees.
Through the chair, what I'm trying to do is figure out what the net bottom line effect will be to the county with this.
Sure. Our anticipation is that we'll be bringing in about $1 million in greens fees, about $150,000 in lodge rentals, we figure about $62,000 in that 10% of sales. And also we have some cost savings built in with some structural changes in our staffing in the park system that will net a savings of, we anticipate about $112,000. So we're looking at total revenue is about $1.3 million. And then our expenses with staff, supplies, utilities, and equipment leases, about $1,035,000. So we would net $294,000 in the first year, and we would put $260,000 that into the golf course trust fund. So a total net the county's looking at under our plan would be about $34,000 to the positive.
Okay, so the golf courses will be netting about $294 between what goes to the county and goes into the trust fund. How does that compare to what they currently net, or what they netted last year or something?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, as I said, that's about what the courses are bringing in now. We want to be very conservative and not overestimate. So our goal is to be self-supporting, and that's the motto we've put together.
Okay. So with the hiring of these new staff and the county taking over the maintenance of the courses, the county will still, in effect, basically break even with where we've been in the past?
Correct.
Okay. My other question was, are these operators going to be required to have pros on duty at the courses when the courses are operating?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, great question. Yes, there'll be a pro. In addition to the two professionals, Mr. Kless and Mr. Meyer, they will have a golf course professional or golf professional at each of the three courses.
Okay. Thank you.
Legislator Cayley.
Mr. Chairman, through you to the administration, you'd think that there were no more questions that could possibly be asked about this.
I'm
but
sure there are.
I do have a couple. And it could be that I just didn't hear the information as it came out. So through the chairman to the administration, I want to go back to the restaurant facility, Jack's, and just ask a couple questions on that. To date, it's been, and I'm asking this because I don't play golf, so I've not visited.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I don't play golf either.
All right, yeah, but you're supposed to be there, but thank you. It's been previously operating as a restaurant or just a catering facility?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, when it first opened in 2004, it opened as a restaurant. And for the last, I would say, 5 or 6 years, it has been, it morphed into a catering operation because that's where the operator was actually seeing more income and gradually turned it into solely a catering operation.
Thank you. Then if I understand through the chair, like a party house.
Through you, correct.
Okay, thank you. Do you anticipate, through the chair, the facility itself, do you anticipate changing the restaurant equipment, if it were, assuming that it's a full-service caterer area, do you anticipate making any changes or downsizing the kitchen facilities?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, yes, we do anticipate downsizing the kitchen facilities. You know, there wouldn't be need for like a fryer or certain things that a restaurant would use that a caterer coming in there to do an event would not require.
Thank you. And then through the chair, it probably is not, this is just a comment, but from what I understand in the changes that we're making and through the previous questions, our expectation is that there's going to be an uptick over the next year or so in use of the golf course there because it will be considered in better condition for golfers to come and enjoy. I guess my one thought on the facilities is that it may, bless you, may actually find itself in the position of reverting to a restaurant. And I guess that perhaps I would understand the downsizing of the equipment in the facility, but perhaps if that wasn't necessary and their life expectancy was still there, that minor maintenance might make maintaining that equipment useful over the next couple of years, but that's just a thought. Thank you. That's all.
Legislator Baroth.
Thank you. Through the chair of the administration, I actually have a couple questions, but they shouldn't be too onerous, and I must say congratulations, Mr. Staub, for bearing up so well. Quick question regarding the annual report that you mentioned earlier, starting in 2015. About when could we expect that? December 2015, heading into 2016?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, you should expect that in first quarter 2016.
Thank you very much. And through the chair of the administration, when you're going through the discussion regarding the funds from the greens fees and the professional fees, you came up with some numbers, and from that I extrapolated what the Class Myers Golf Management would gross from the greens and professional fees. And would that be correct? That's approximately $640,000?
That is correct.
Thank you. And then my last question, and I couldn't believe I came up with this question, it's relevant because you were talking about fryers just now. You mentioned that Jack's, you're going to have a role in determining what types of food will be sold, although not the inventory levels and things like that. What do you anticipate as being the county's interest in types of food to be sold? I was curious as to what that would entail.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to use your word, I don't plan on being too onerous, but just to make sure that there are the types of food that we would expect golfers would want, and I expect that these folks being professionals, that's what they would propose. But you always want to have that control. We, In our contract with the Seneca Park Zoo Society, for example, I annually approve their list of food offerings, right down to the SpongeBob SquarePants ice cream bars. And, it gives the county that, extra level of control.
Thank you, that makes sense.
Legislator Andrews.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a few more questions through you. Thank you, Mr. Staub, for a lengthy explanation about the new contract. I am excited to hear this go into place. Just trying to clarify, I think you had an exchange with Legislator Haney. And I'm not sure if I got out of it or not, what exactly, or what was the amount that the county actually received in prior years?
Through you, Mr. Chair, currently, under our contract with the present vendor, the county received 19.5% of greens fees and 5% of all their sales.
Thank you. And then, so for example, for last year, what would that figure have been?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, we can get you that number, but it's about $250,000.
Thank you. Yeah, if you could get that to me, that'd be great. The past few years, actually, if we could look at 13, 12, and 11, for example, that'd be great. Thank you. One other question. I know you went through your expected expenses for maintaining the courses. What was the gross total there for the cost of maintenance expected to be for 2015?
About $1 million.
And thank you. And what were the other 4 vendors who responded to who were they that responded to the RFP through the chair?
I can get you those.
Thank you. And then in terms of the structure of the compensation here, the contract we're entering into with the vendor, how is it agreed upon that they would get 10% of the greens and 90% of the gross sales? Is that kind of an industry standard? I guess it doesn't sound like it if that's not what you had in place with the previous vendor, but how did you come to a place to decide that that's what was most appropriate for this contract?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we decided that number based on what we felt an operator would need to perform that type of service and also be incentivized to make a profit, and what we would need to run the courses. We put that number in the RFP that we would accept nothing less than 90% of greens fees and 10% of the pros fees. And that's where Kless-Myers came in with their proposal.
Thank you. And through the chair, then in previous years also is the $250,000 that came to the county, did that also go entirely to the Golf Course Trust Fund?
Through you, yes.
And what's the balance then of the Golf Course
I
Trust Fund?
can get you that.
Thank you. Thanks. I'm pleased to see all the controls that are being put in place with a new contract. I think that's a step in the right direction, and I will be supporting it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Mercifully, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Next item, please.
Referral 14-0293.
Moved by Legislator Draw, seconded by Legislator Carbone. Is there any discussion? Legislator Hain.
Through the chair, will the county solely be paying the cost of the audits, or will the state share in the cost of the audits?
Mr. Chairman, there is no state share in the cost of these audits.
Okay. And as I understand it, the offset is that we get to keep whatever the auditors come up with as any recoveries that are made as a result of the audits, the county gets to keep 100%?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. I'm pleased to see these audits going forward. There's been some articles in the press about similar audits that took place downstate, and there were some very significant recoveries that were made in some of these cases downstate. So it will be interesting to see what happens here.
Yes, sir.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Next item, please.
Referral 14-0294.
Moved by legislator Carbone, second by legislator Rocco. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Whoops, Paul? Oh, you were just whipping your hand up. Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries. Next item, please.
Referral 14-0295.
Moved by legislator Rocco, seconded by legislator Tucciarello. Is there any discussion? Legislator Baroff.
Thank you. Through the Chair of the Administration, of the funds received from this grant, it's supposed to go to two things, the liquid chromatograph mass spectrometer, et cetera, and a position. How much goes to each? First to the piece of equipment and one to the position.
Through the chair, it's roughly about $74,000 that goes for the toxicology position and about $16,000 that goes for the instrumentation.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Legislator Haney.
Through the chair, what is the trend with our backlogs? Are we gaining on the backlog, or are we slipping farther behind on the backlog? What is our trend?
Through the chair, we're making, I guess, maybe improvement, however, the nature of maybe this work is such that, as we move, I guess, maybe through time, there's an increasing number of, I guess, if you will, different types of compounds, whether those are designer drugs or whether those are synthetic marijuana, and those require increasing numbers of different types of tests, not only tests that need to be developed, but testing procedures that need to be validated. And so with that, that increases, if you will, maybe the workload.
So through the chair, we're making some progress on the backlog despite the fact that the complexity of the tests is increasing. Is that a fair summary of what you said?
Through the chair, correct.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries. Next item, please.
Referral 14-0296.
Moved by legislator Tucciarello, seconded by legislator Quattro. Legislator Andrews.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, the referral talks about analyzing regional trends in drug driving as it relates to bath salts and synthetic marijuana compounds. And my question is if you have any idea sort of what proportion of drug tests or drugged driving arrests are due to the use of these drugs compared to others, and what are the regional trends in our area?
Through the chair, so as we look at, for the alcohol-associated, type of testing that occurs, between 2008 and 2013, those, I guess, maybe instances increased from 94 to about 139. And then for the drug-related, associated events for our county, they increased from like about 58 to 124 during the same time interval.
Through the chair, are those annual figures?
Through the chair, that is correct.
And thank you then. And then of the drug driving ones, what proportion of those do you think are related to the specific compounds or drugs referenced in this referral?
Through the chair, we don't have that information broken down by that. These are like aggregate data based upon subcategories of alcohol-associated and drug-associated, realizing that the drug-associated includes, other drugs that I have mentioned before.
Okay. Thank you. When through the chair, when the referral speaks then about analyzing regional trends, do you expect to do any work to sort of break down how prevalent the use of these drugs are compared to others, or if they're on the rise or decline in our community?
Through the chair, so with regards to some of the other, I guess maybe counties, you've seen increases as well. And so, for example, I'm looking at the alcohol-associated ones for, 7 counties. That includes Genesee, Livingston, Ontario, Seneca, Wayne, Wyoming, and Yates. You saw an increase from like 122 to about 150 between 2008 and 2013. And for the same counties, for the same time interval, you saw an increase from 111 to 245 for the drug-associated ones.
Thank you.
Legislator Haney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm a little confused as to how the medical examiner gets involved in roadside testing. I mean, the medical examiner's staff obviously can't be present when the deputies or the police pull somebody over and charge them. How does the medical examiner's office get involved in the testing?
Through the chair, our involvement is with regards to some of our analytic capability, given that we have expertise and, as I mentioned before, in terms of the development and the validation of certain tests, including tests that cover this area as well.
So is it a training process with the police agencies?
Through the chair, it's with the collection and the testing, the analyzing of certain samples that are submitted, to our medical examiner's office toxicology laboratory where that testing is done.
So the police agencies will be collecting samples at roadside and forwarding them to the medical examiner?
We have samples that are collected in various veins, and so some of that includes, other agencies. We also, maybe do other work in our laboratory that includes, some of the post-mortem work, which I think that's perhaps, what you may be thinking about in terms of the typical role of the medical examiner's office. In our particular lab in those areas, we are trying to determine, if you will, the cause and the manner of death, as opposed to, maybe some other roles where you're really trying to determine, if you will, like, who's responsible for a particular crime.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries. Next item, please.
Referral 14-0297.
Moved by legislator Quattro, seconded by legislator Daniele. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries. Next item, please.
Referral 14-0299.
Moved by legislator Daniele, seconded by legislator Draw. Legislator Baroth.
Through the chair of the administration, the referral references the StarLIMS laboratory software that we had modified in-house, and as a result, with an upgrade, it's going to be lose its functionality. When was the last update of the StarLIMS software package prior to 2015?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, there was a prior update, we're estimating about 7 years ago, but it's currently being updated now.
Correct. And then through the chair of the administration, so those modifications that we did in-house occurred less than 7 years ago, correct?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, it was done over a series of years, but within that time frame?
Within the time frame, thank you. And then through the chair of the administration, my second and final question is, were we surprised that as a result of the upcoming upgrade, that the in-house modifications are going to make the whole thing unworkable for us?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I don't know if I would characterize it as surprised. I guess we anticipated that and determined that this would really be the best fit for us, being proprietary software. It's out-of-the-box solution for us, and one we felt would be the best fit for our program going forward.
Okay. And my final question is, I note the respondent is not located within the local area. Did anyone else from the local area apply for this?
Mr. Chairman, no. This is a nationally recognized company. Again, this is a federal program, and I know their software has been utilized in the city of Chicago, Los Angeles, and Cincinnati.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries. Next item, please.
Referral 14-0301.
Moved by legislator Draw, seconded by legislator Carbone. Legislator Cayley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the administration, just quickly, are there any issues currently with the bridge?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the issues that are identified here within the referral being addressed through this construction project, but the bridge remains open.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries. Next item, please.
Referral 14-0303.
Moved by legislator Carbone, seconded by legislator Rocco. Legislator Haney.
Mr. Chairman, could someone give us a brief explanation as to why the increase is needed?
Through Mr. Chairman, as you know, this firm has been retained as the county's term service consultant for code enforcement related matters. And the need for the increase relates to projects where we've utilized our services for construction and design plan review, as well as specialized construction inspection on behalf of the county during the construction phase of projects. And some examples where we've utilized these services and anticipate utilizing these services are MCC Building 21 project, the Northwest Clarifier project, and we anticipate using these services for the MCC downtown campus.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries. Next item, please.
Referral 14-0304.
Moved by legislator Rocco, seconded by legislator Tucciarello. Is there any discussion? Hearing, legislator Cayley.
Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the administration, this is the first time that the county has received this grant. Are we anticipating any additional expenses incurred for this going past 2015? And would it be reasonable to, would be receiving any other additional grant money next year?
Through the chair, which referral are you referring to?
Oh, excuse me. I jumped ahead.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries. Next item, please.
Referral 14-0305.
Moved by legislator Tucciarello, seconded by legislator Quattro. Legislator Cayley.
Yeah, to reiterate the question through the administration, through the chair, would it, since this is the first time that we've received these fundings, is it anticipated that there will be more accommodations needed in the future, and would we be able to expect funding in the future?
Election commissioners just happen to be here, so you're going to get it right from the horse's mouth. Take your pick.
This grant actually is a grant that is paying for voting booths or voting stanchions that have already been purchased. It's from Health and Human Services federal grant that is administered by the state. We've seen a couple of these grants come through, and we've been able to use them to cover some of the costs of these stanchions. Normal wear and tear on them will dictate when they get replaced. At this point, this does bring us up to a full complement of stanchions for the polling sites that we currently have open.
Thank you. Then, would it be? Would you say then that Monroe County is doing its due diligence and it is in good shape, or that we, given the opportunity for additional monies, could make additional changes?
I really think that Monroe County is in good shape. We have a good plan in place in terms of maintaining the appropriate equipment in the polling places, and it's at this point is meeting the needs. I think that's proven by the fact that we don't have a lot of lines, and people seem to be satisfied with the equipment we have out there.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, please.
Referral 14-0306.
Moved by Legislator Quattro, seconded by Legislator Daniele. Is there any discussion? Legislator Baroth.
Thank you. Through the chair of the administration, I just have a couple quick questions, and that's regarding the funding for the master plan. And essentially, what's the plan schedule for the implementation of the master plan for the Highland Park?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, with this property acquisition and the demolition of the building, we wanted to make sure that any use of that land fit in with the historic Olmsted landscape across the street, and also respected the very close neighboring residences. So that's the purpose of requesting funding for the master plan. Master plan, with your approval, funding would be available at the end of this year, and we would like to get right at it and have it wrapped up in 2015.
Thank you. And through the chair of the administration, I know the answer to the question is yes, but as we know there will be public input, will there be a specific effort to outreach to those closely affected neighbors through the chair?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, yes. That's the prime reason for having the master plan is to get public input and the input of the community, the park stakeholders, much like the Seneca's Park Zoo master plan we talked about earlier. To this respect, though, I know how the rumor mill starts, and people start talking when things hit the news media. I've been in contact with the neighborhood association in Azalea Neighborhood Association, which represents the neighbors that border that property. And I'm actually going to be hosting a meeting at our office a week from now to talk about the master plan process and how the neighbors will be included in that process.
Thank you. And this is a personal note. I must say I'm very pleased with the approach being taken in terms of trying to return the land to the park. I regret losing the cooperative extension, don't get me wrong, but the building itself, I've been there quite a few times. It would be tough to save, and that's just a plain fact. So I'm very pleased by the public plan you're putting together, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about it since that is my district, and I assure you, one way or the other, I'll be hearing about it.
Thank you.
Legislator Haney, did you have something?
Do we have any idea what we'll use the property for, or is all that going to come out of the master plan?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, obviously that'll come out of the master plan. We don't want to presuppose, but immediately the building will be demolished, hopefully before Lilac Festival 2015. That's my very ambitious goal, is to have that building down before then. And our short-term use of the property would be to take where the building's footprint is and just plant grass there.
And second question, we occasionally have to, I'll call it, decommission parkland for various reasons. And under state law, if for some reason we have to decommission an acre, we have to buy an acre and replace it. Would we be better off in this case to defer the legal addition of this property to the park and sort of bank it so that if we have to decommission some parkland in the future, we could use this as the replacement rather than have to go out and buy a piece of parcel of property someplace? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I do understand what you're saying. To decommission a piece of parkland is very, very difficult. It requires an act of the state legislature and actually requires the replacement of 2 acres for every 1 acre you decommission. I really don't think, we looked at it, we've had questions on that. I really don't think that this would be the right use for this particular piece of property because of its sensitivity. I couldn't imagine that being used for anything other than parkland. because of its landlocked nature. And I think that to do anything other than incorporate it in the park, we would have very upset constituents of Mr. Baroth and residents of that area. I think that this is one of the big selling points to the neighbors, that we're returning it to park usage, passive usage, and you know, taking out that fear factor by incorporating into the parkland. We'd also have a tough time doing the master plan for Highland Park South and including that parcel, since it wouldn't be parkland.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries. Next item, please.
Referral 14-0307.
Moved by legislator Daniele, seconded by legislator Draws. Is there any discussion? Legislator Kaley.
Mr. Chairman, one of the upsides of having all these things stacked in one night is that what I forgot to ask in the first meeting, I can ask in the second one. But just briefly, through you to the administration, is the property at 2449 St. Paul currently inhabitable?
Oh, through you, Mr. Chairman, yes, very much so. It was historically a family farm, and then the last surviving member of that farming family sold the residence to a couple, a family, and they are the ones that sold it to us 2 years ago. So it's only actually had two owners. When the previous owner had it, he was a home contractor and made extensive repairs and to the property and really got it up to good shape. And we're having to do very little in the way of renovations. Our primary renovating in that property to make it usable for Cornell is to create a handicapped accessible restroom, and also to rewire the house for office use and for data.
Thank you, and through the chair, I mean, I appreciate that with your last comment about the rumor mill, because my husband actually grew up around the corner from that house, and it was said that it had been basically stripped of a lot of its historic woodwork when it was first sold. So whether that's there or not, it doesn't matter as long as it's put back in shape. But the other question I had through the chair was, again, I come up to the phrase of surplus property, which I found the explanation in agenda charter on the other piece of property a little bit different. But was this, when it was first purchased, my recollection was that it was going to be used as off-site parking for events at the zoo, and I wondered if this is still going to be part of the plan, if it is indeed surplus, if this is going to be part of the plan, that it would still be off-site parking, and will that be onerous at all to the cooperative extension folks?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the property was purchased for off-site parking, and the farmhouse is a bonus. The off-site parking has been constructed. It was in service last year, so this is our second season with that off-site parking. We added 108 parking spaces without impacting the historic park by going off-site and purchasing this property, and also purchasing the railroad right-of-way that gave us connectivity to our current overflow parking space. With the addition of those 108 spaces, we did not have any significant parking shortage for the last 2 seasons at the Seneca Park Zoo. So it has really served its purpose and done the trick. The only time we have seen an upswing to the point where we can't handle parking is during spring break and during Zubu, although it hasn't been a problem this year because it's been raining. But those 2 periods, we knew that we would still have some issues. And as you might know, we purchased a trolley and offer off-site parking and a ride to the zoo with that trolley. So we've addressed our parking issues. So this house came along with that property in order to get our hands on that property to create that extra parking. You know, the house came with it. As I said, it's in great shape, and our intention all along has been to lease that, if not to a county agency or for park purposes, to lease it to a not-for-profit. And I believe we addressed that when I remember talking with Mr. Haney about that at Ways and Means, that that was our intention at the time. So this is the mechanism by which we are able to lease it to for non-county purposes by declaring it surplus. It's going to a great use, and Cornell is going to be a great tenant, and they're going to make a great home in that farmhouse.
Thank you. But just to be clear, you don't, through the chair, you don't expect there to be a parking issue. I honestly don't know how many people park on a regular basis for the cooperative extension.
Oh, through you, Mr. Chairman, no, there will be no parking issue because I believe that they need about 10 spaces. There's more than that there. And to make sure that there's not a parking issue that affects neighboring residents, we incorporated into the lease the use of the Wegman Lodge down in Seneca Park for higher attended classes and programming that they have. So they'll be utilizing that facility as well as part of this lease. That's an added benefit because that's a great rental on Friday, Saturday, and Sundays, but it has very minimal usage on weekdays. And the more people you get into that lower park, the less issues you have with quality of life type issues that we've experienced there throughout the recent years. So get more people down there doing positive things, those things tend to go away.
Thank you. Through the chair, I guess I'll just say again, I don't quite understand how we can indicate a property as surplus without designating it surplus and doing it all in the same process. But in this case, I look at the structure as being surplus because it is not being used. And though it may not seem consistent, I think that this is a good use for it, and I'm fine. Thanks.
Any further discussion? Legislator Haney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through the chair, when we bought this property 2 years ago, was it added to Seneca? Was it formally added to Seneca Park?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, yes, it was.
Do we have a problem then by leasing it out with this problem with the state about alienating the parkland?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, no, we don't, because we're not giving up any property. The county's still retaining that property. We're just leasing the actual structure,
okay,
which we do in other cases throughout the park system.
Okay. As I seem to recollect that when we bought it, we discussed that the zoo offices might move into the house. Is my recollection wrong, or is that planned? Or?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, yes, you're recalling our conversation at that Ways and Means meeting 2 years ago very well. And that was a prospective use that we discussed, but that didn't pan out. And the cooperative extension needs presented themselves, and we were able to work out a very good deal for all concerned. It was a true win-win for both the Parks Department and Cooperative Extension.
Through the chair, in addition to the $25,000 annual rent, I assume Cooperative Extension is going to be paying the utilities and that like?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, that's correct.
Yes. It's my understanding that since the county cut funding for Cooperative Extension 5 or 6 years ago, that they've been having some financial difficulties. Can they afford the $25,000?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, most of their financial difficulties were caused by being a landlord for a aging facility that they only occupied about 20% of, and they had to find other tenants to occupy the rest, and meet their budget and be able to upkeep that aging facility that needed a lot of work. So by relieving themselves of that, they have right-sized the organization and their budget, and they are able to afford this amount of money for this lease.
So it's a win-win then?
It is.
That's neat. We still own the former funeral home on the other side of St. Paul Street?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, yes, that is a DES property.
It's not under your jurisdiction?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, no, it's not a parks facility. It's a DES facility. And I know that we're in active conversations with the neighboring church to acquire that property and turn it into their hands.
Because my question was, why don't we auction that property off?
We're getting a little away from the referral right now. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries. Next item, please.
Referral 14-0308.
Moved by legislator Draw, second by legislator Carbone. Legislator Barad.
Thank you. Through the chair of the administration, I note that the grant supplies the funds to purchase a piece of equipment, a auto dialer. Am I correct to assume there are no associated annual fees or anything along those lines? It's a simple one-shot purchase?
Through the chair, yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries. Next item, please.
Referral 14-0309.
Moved by legislator Carbone, seconded by legislator Rocco. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries. Next item, please.
Referral 14-0311.
Moved by legislator Rocco, seconded by legislator Tucciarello. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries. Next item, please.
Referral 14-0312.
Moved by legislator Tucciarello, seconded by legislator Quattro. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying, well, you got to be faster than that, Paul. We're getting towards the end here. Legislator Haney.
312, Ron?
Yeah.
Okay. In addition to the three parts to this, well, let me back up to a previous question. We're selling off part of the Mill Seat landfill site. Are we taking a risk here that we're going to run out of capacity at Mill Seat at some future date?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, our current planning efforts have identified sites to the south of the present footprint of the landfill as the preferred area for expansion.
So through the chair, what is your current projection for the lifespan of Mill Seat?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the projected life of the current permitted footprint is approximately early 2020, sometime in 2020. It's based on current volumes.
The land that you're retaining, what?
Well, through you, Mr. Chairman, there's land owned by Monroe County, also land owned by Waste Management. But based on our current planning efforts, we establish a minimum of 25 years as a desired time frame for a future expansion.
I mean, 25, through the chair, 25 years can go by awfully fast. Are we really sure that we don't need this land for future landfill expansion? I mean, having been around when we went through this the last time. There's nothing more painful than siting a landfill. I mean, it was basically a 10-year process last time around. Are we sure we aren't giving up options that whoever sits here in 20 years or 25 years will be wishing we had?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, again, our planning efforts presently, we established a minimum of 25 years of life. Our preferred alternative would give us what we expect to be up to 35 years. But we have not identified the northern properties as an area for the present proposed expansion or any really future expansions at this point.
Well, then my next question becomes, if this is surplus property, doesn't the legislature also have to take an action under Section 215.5 of county law declaring this to be surplus property?
Through the chair, no.
Why not?
Through the chair, because the local law that you would be adopting would be legally sufficient to sell the property, and thus it would be surplus.
Well, then, through the chair, since Section 215.5 also states that it requires a 2/3 vote of the legislative body, does that mean, I assume that means that we'll have to have a 2/3 vote on this?
Through the chair, no.
Why? I mean, if state law clearly says
Through the chair, the local law will require a simple majority vote.
how do you, through the chair, how do you avoid the requirement of Section 215.5?
Through the chair, by enacting a local law.
Right. And 215.5 says that local law requires a 2/3 vote. I mean, we can't just wave a wand and say we're going to ignore 215.5.
Through the chair, this is past precedent. This is how we've sold other properties in the past, also leased surplus property in the past. I think I've answered the question.
So what you're basically saying is you refuse to say anything more about it.
The chair, no, I'll answer as many questions as you have, but I think I've answered that question.
Any further discussion?
Yes. My major concern with this proposal is actually not the sale of the land. My major concern with this proposal is that the proceeds, after we sell the land for the $1,369,000, the proceeds are going to be transferred from the Solid Waste Enterprise Fund into the general fund. And my question is, why?
Mr. Chairman, this land was acquired by the county in the early 1980s, and after that acquisition was transferred to the Solid Waste Fund at the time the Solid Waste Fund was created. If this land is not going to be utilized by the Solid Waste Fund, it should be reverted back to the general fund. I would also suggest that the county as a whole would derive a greater benefit by transferring these proceeds to the general fund.
Well, my dilemma is that the land was bought with bond proceeds. And I assume the debt service on those bond proceeds has been paid for out of the Solid Waste Fund? The debt service on the bonds has been paid out of the Solid Waste Fund?
Mr. Chairman, the County of Monroe issued those bonds as general obligation debt, and I believe the accounting for the debt service payment would have been attributable to the solid waste fund.
So the debt service payments were charged to the solid waste fund, right?
I believe that is correct, Mr. Chairman.
And the solid waste fund is dependent on user charges to cover its expenses. Is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, we have discussed at last year's budget committee that the user charges generated within the solid waste fund have not been adequate to have that remain a profitable entity, and has relied on advances from the general fund for quite some time. That is of a concern to me and others, and we have had a number of ongoing conversations on how to turn that around. There are other ways to return the solid waste fund to profitability without utilizing the proceeds from the sale.
Right. You've very nicely cut to the chase here. Since 2008, the solid waste fund has been running up huge losses of altogether 12, probably about $23, $24 million in losses since 2008, to the point where at the end of 2013, the solid waste fund had an unrestricted fund balance deficit of $18,097,000. I mean, with the solid waste fund in such a terrible financial position, how can we think of so they're going to get an infusion of $1.3 million, which would pay down some of this deficit. And facing that opportunity, how do we not use the proceeds to pay off some of that deficit? That just boggles my mind.
Mr. Chairman, that is because we do have ongoing discussions on how to turn around the finances of the solid waste fund, and we will be coming back to the legislature at some point in the future regarding that. With respect to how could also we not retain these dollars within the solid waste fund, Monroe County is assessed by its banking and credit relationships on the overall finances of the county. We do not issue bonds as out of the solid waste funds as revenue bonds. The County of Monroe issues bonds as general obligation debt for a variety of departments and funds, which may include the solid waste fund. And the ratings assigned to that general obligation debt is based on the county finances overall, not just the finances of the solid waste enterprise fund. And it would be a greater financial and credit benefit to the county to transfer these net proceeds to the general fund.
But through the chair, at some point, the users of Millseat and the other operations of the solid waste fund are going to have to face the music of increased rates to make up these deficits. There's no other way to do it in the solid waste fund, unless we're going to invent some magic financial solution or something. And by taking this $1,300,000, I guess it's $1,369,000, we're basically accentuating what the problem is going to be when we face the music about raising the rates for the use of the landfill.
Mr. Chairman, we actually have alternative ideas on how to raise financing without necessarily increasing what I will call the tipping fees.
Well, Mr. Chairman, having no idea what these magic alternative solutions would be, other than raising the rates, which Mr. Franklin says is not part of the solution, I think we're being premature in taking the $1,369,000 and giving it to the general fund. Therefore, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we delete from the proposal the portion that says that we will transfer the $1,369,000 from the Solid Waste Enterprise Fund to the general fund, being action item 3 on the transmittal. I move that be deleted.
Seconded by Legislator Andrews.
And if I can speak to it, Mr. Chairman.
You've been speaking to it, Paul. You might as well keep on going.
Right.
Legislator Haney to speak to it. It's an amendment.
You know what? He made a good point. Parliamentarian just made a good point that agenda charter is the lead committee.
I'm sorry?
Agenda charter is the lead committee.
Right.
I don't believe you can amend it in this committee. Had to be amended in agenda charter or at full ledge.
Okay. Well, then that being the case, Mr. Chairman, certainly at full ledge, I'll be moving to delete item 3 from the action items. And for our vote this evening, since I think I object strenuously to this item 3, I think we're robbing Peter to pay Paul, and in this case, Peter is bankrupt. Peter has an unrestricted fund balance deficit of over $18 million, and we have a one-time chance to address some of that, and we're refusing to do it. Therefore, and since I can't delete the item, I'll vote against the entire item.
Any further discussion? Legislator Andrews.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, I did have a question going back to the initial conversation about how we're proceeding with enacting a local law. And I believe it was indicated that we're not relying upon Section 215.5 of New York State County Law. Is that correct?
Through the chair, that is correct.
Then thank you. Then through the chair, then what provision of law are we relying upon to do this?
Through the chair, the municipal home rule law.
Any further discussion?
One second. Through the chair, then, it would be possible for you just to explain a little bit further, in particular, what section you're relying upon and what that means.
Through the chair, we're asking that the legislature adopt a local law pursuant to municipal home rule like we adopt every single local law that becomes before this honorable body.
Thank you. So you don't feel in any way whatsoever that we need a 2/3 majority to do this, and you're just stating that essentially we're enacting a local law like we do every other local law, even though you're declaring this surplus property, and the only provision that's found that speaks directly to surplus property is this Section 215.5?
Through the chair, that is essentially correct. I don't know.
And earlier, through the chair, you stated that there was precedent or practice that you were relying upon. Could you elaborate what that was?
Well, through the chair, we've sold other land or leased other land through this same process, through adopting a local law.
Yeah, through the chair, I know I'm asking for examples.
Through the chair, I guess we'll have to provide that information. I don't have it off the top of my head.
Thank you.
Well, through the chair, thank you. The Iola campus was done through local law.
Thank you. I'll look forward to other examples being provided also before the meeting of the full legislature. I'll also be voting against this evening.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Andrews? Mr. Baroth? Dr. Carbone? Mr. Daniele? Mrs. Draw? Mr. Haney? Ms. Cayley? Dr. Quattro? Mr. Rocco? Mr. Tucciarello? Chairman Yolovich?
Yes.
7 to 4, referral passes.
Are there any other matters to come before this committee? Seeing none, the October 22nd, 2014 meeting of the Ways and Means Committee stands adjourned. The next meeting of the Ways and Means Committee is scheduled for Wednesday, November 19th at 6 p.m. Thank you for your patience, ladies and gentlemen.